Welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, passionate, inspirational speaker, author, poet, and entrepreneur. Welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm delighted that you joined me today. I want to give a big thank you to those of you who are listening today, and here's a great big shout out to all of you listening all around the world. I'm delighted and so grateful that you tuned in. I sure hope you're enjoying a fabulous day today and that you're having a fantastic week, because you know what? In the grand song of the universe, life is so very short. It's short and sweet and very, very precious. So I hope you're making a difference in your own life, because when you do, you also make a difference in someone else's life. Now, a lot of folks want to make their life count for something, and they ask me, Dr. Gloria, how do you do that? Well, it's very simple, very simple. You make your life count day by day, step by step, moment by moment, every single day, 365, 24/7. That's what Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count is all about. You can learn more about Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. That's GloriaBurgess.com, the Gloria Burgess website, GloriaBurgess.com, or by visiting Facebook, and that's Facebook.com/DR for Doctor, DrGloriaBurgessPhD/. Okay, now, today I want to talk with you about leadership, about courageous leadership, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Specifically, we're going to focus on an approach to leadership, and this particular approach is called the Courage Way. The Courage Way, which is all about leading and living with integrity. And today's podcast focuses on a book that's called The Courage Way, Leading and Living with Integrity. How about that? The book was written by Shelly Francis, and she's joining me today as my very special guest. So, what exactly is the Courage Way? And what does it mean? And what does it take to lead and live with integrity? Well, Shelly will help us address those burning questions today. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Shelly is a person of influence, and she's quite inspiring. Shelly is a leader who makes a difference in her own life and in the lives of so many others throughout the world through her work with the Center for Courage and Renewal, a nonprofit organization based in Seattle, Washington. In fact, she wrote the book, The Courage Way, in her role as the center's Director of Marketing and Communication. Before coming to the center, Shelly directed trademarking and publicity for a multimedia publisher called Sounds True. She's worked in diverse sectors including business, high-tech, healthcare, government, and publishing. She's also owned 2 small businesses. Shelly says the common thread throughout her career is bringing to light the best-kept secrets while bringing people together to facilitate collective impact and good work. I just love that. Now, I first met Shelly in her role at the Center for the Courage and Renewal. Years ago, I became familiar with the Center's work through my own work in leadership. And during the past dozen or so years, I was fortunate to become what I would call a friend of the Center. So, over the years, I've come to know a number of individuals there. When I heard about Shelly's book, I was absolutely delighted. And when I heard her speak about her book, she was positively on fire. So to simply say that Shelly is interested in her work and book on leading and living with integrity would be an understatement. She is so passionate about her work, and I must say she is a woman with a mission. She's on purpose and on fire to change the world, and in particular to change the world for people who want to connect who they are with what they do. I think that includes most people on the planet. Now, when you hear her story, you will learn why Shelly is so passionate about making a difference, about changing and impacting the world in this way. I was struck by her passion. But this is just one of the many wonderful qualities that drew me, and I should say that draws so many people to Shelly and her work. Indeed, we are blessed to have her as one of our honored mentors on this show. She's an incredible leader, a writer, and storyteller, with a particular focus on serving other leaders. In many ways, in her outlook on life and in her work, Shelly pulls together the many threads of what my own life and work are all about. Now, you've heard me talk many, many times about these threads and themes on this show. The themes of gratitude, authenticity, generosity, courage, integrity, passion, presence, trustworthiness, hope, and possibility. I just love it. Two women, Shelly and me, with very different backgrounds and experiences, and yet with so many common threads. Can I just tell you something? Shelly and I had a marvelous conversation. I'm so excited to have this amazing leader with us today. This is going to be a fabulous show. You don't want to miss a single minute of it. So, put on your walking shoes, grab your earbuds, or simply relax in your favorite chair. Grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or a nice cool glass of water. We're going to have a great time. Before I jump into today's show, I want to take just a moment to welcome you. If you're just joining us, I'm your host, Dr. Gloria, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are joining my show for the very first time. You're in for a real treat. I'm excited to have you listening in today, and I'm deeply honored that you've allowed me to be part of your day so you can be inspired by the ideas and resources to make your life count. Today's program is all about courageous leadership. Specifically, it is about leading and living with integrity. Hi, Shelly. This is a wonderful opportunity to talk with you today about your background and about your work. So welcome to the call.
Thank you, Gloria. I'm happy to be here with you.
Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, about yourself so that my listeners can hear your voice, and then we'll talk about the wonderful work that you're doing with the Courage Way.
Sure. Well, my name is Shelly Francis, and I am the author of a new book called The Courage Way, Leading and Living with Integrity. And I wrote the book in my role as the Marketing and Communications Director for a nonprofit here in Seattle called the Center for Courage and Renewal. Before that, I worked for a multimedia publisher called Sounds True in Colorado. And I've worked in a range of businesses from publishing to government to high-tech and healthcare. I've even owned my own business twice. I like to say that the common thread throughout my career has been bringing to light best-kept secrets while bringing people together to do good work. I love writing books. I consider myself a writer and an artist, and just writing the Courage Way book.
Thank you, Shelly. So you've had quite a varied background, which to me is great soil for writing and the writing process. Can you tell us a little bit about the Courage Way, just some background information for people who may not be familiar with that language?
Sure. I wrote the book for the Center for Courage and Renewal as part of a strategic process, really, for us to figure out what is the impact that we'd had in the world. The Center for Courage and Renewal puts on retreats and programs for people to, as we like to say, connect who they are with what they do. It's professional and personal development where people can just embody courage and integrity in all that they do. And we do that with a set of practices called Touchstones and the Circle of Trust approach. It's really hard to describe what we do. It's one of those things where you almost just have to go try it. But we've really been trying to articulate what it is that happens in the lives of people after they've gone to a retreat. How do these practices show up in their life and leadership so that they can make a difference in the lives of other people?
Okay. Well, I'm sitting here, and your book is right in front of me. It's just a gorgeous cover. Can you tell me, Shelly, what did you learn about courage in your process of writing the book?
Man, I feel like I learned so many things that were surprising to me. And one of the first things that I learned even before we had completely landed on the book project popped off a shelf at me at a used bookstore, and it was a book called The Courage to Create by Rollo May, written way back in 1974. Mm-hmm. And he talks about 4 different kinds of courage, and I thought, I never thought about how many different kinds of courage there are. There's physical courage, which everybody, knows about, whether that's battling an illness or battling something, fighting for survival. And then the moral courage seems in a way so daunting, but I think that's what people talk about the most when they say the courage to lead or to stand up for your values. But he named 2 other types of courage that really resonated with me. And the first one of those was social courage. Remember, this was written in 74, but I think in the recent years, Brené Brown's been talking a lot about social courage, and that's the courage to be vulnerable and connect with other people, really wear your heart on your sleeve. And then the 4th one is creative courage, and I love that one so much because I feel like an artist, but I think there's an art to bringing ourselves to our lives and leadership authentically, and the idea of creating community or creating new ideas and new possibilities. So that's what I started looking for when I was writing the book, is what kinds of courage actually show up in people's lives.
And what did you find in that process, Shelly?
Well, I really noticed that courage shows up all the time. There's not some sequential way that you have to do one before you do the other. That courage is a shorthand for courage, or the root word is core, French or Latin, from about the heart. So it's when we lead from the heart or live from the heart or tap into who we are deep down in our heart, it seems like courage shows up. And courage is something we can cultivate, which was a surprise. And I learned that we have to cultivate trust to come up with courage.
Wow, it sounds like quite a learning journey for you. And I love just to hear you talk about courage. It intersects a lot with the work that I do as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned practices in the book, and for some of our listeners, they may have a little faint glimmer of what you're talking about, but can you say more about some of the practices and how they might relate to building up your courage?
Sure. The Circle of Trust approach is a set of guidelines that were created by the Center for Courage and Renewal and by our founder, Parker Palmer. And these are really guidelines or ground rules for holding conversations. But I also learned that you can use these same ideas for how you interact with people just every day and in your life. So these touchstones, if you think about a circle of rocks that you could place in a circle to create a space for exploring your life and exploring your ideas. We're really just talking about how do I reflect on where I am in my life so that I can become more self-aware. And when we do that with other people, when we're practicing with other people who are abiding by the same ground rules, we create